Hello everyone, today we're going to be taking this microwave device apart and extracting all the dangerous bits. So first what I'm going to go ahead and do is get this screwdriver here, which I borrowed from the garage. And then we're just going to go ahead and stick this bad boy into the screw slot here. We're just going to turn it. We're going to turn it a lot, and we're going to turn it again on the next one, and we're just going to keep repeating that process until we can't see any of the little Phillips screwdriver heads sticking out of the end here. One thing that's important to note when pulling apart these juicy guys, this one was generously donated to me from a house in Auckland, of whose coordinates I shall not reveal for privacy respect reasons, is to always discharge the high voltage 2100 volt capacitor. It's normally about that voltage. And also not play with it while it's plugged in. That's one of the obvious rules. Go ahead and take this apart. The last time I pulled one of these apart, I was a 13-year-old child. I manufactured it into a device that would be illegal in California, and my mum called the cops on me. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Mother shall not find out about this one. If we go ahead and spin this around, there should be a few screws on the bottom. We can just find where they are. There's normally about 4 of them holding the front cover together. We can just go ahead and undo these. Then maybe later we can go ahead and build one of those little steel foundries that those rich YouTubers use when they've got the fancy asbestos shield furnace thing that's in an old honey barrel or whatever. And melt all these screws down into some ingots, but probably not, because that'd be a massive waste of perfectly good screws. Before we finish all of that, I should probably open this, revealing the disgusting and gross spaghetti mess that the last user of this microwave left in here, and take out these 2 mining apparatus tools that I used while exploring the caves. Go ahead and take my water bottle out of there as well, and we can also go ahead and remove this disgusting gross glass plate and this little roller wheel, which shouldn't need to be in there because they should definitely engineer all modern microwaves with automatic rotation without needing mechanical rotation. This is a cheap, crappy microwave, you can tell, because it needs one of those little plates that spins around. The good ones don't have the little plate that spins around. They just automatically redirect the microwaves in a uniform pattern around the resonant cavity that is the chamber that the food gets warmed in by doing a little thingy-majig with a finished spinny fan in the ceiling of the microwave. Obviously they didn't have enough room in this one, so they just decided to cheat and put a little motor on the bottom to rotate the food around like a mechanical caveman. I'm going to go ahead and take these ones out. Do note that these don't necessarily need to come out in order to get the case off. These are just connected to the transformer in the bottom, which can also be used for a lot of stuff, but isn't super exciting. And you probably shouldn't play with it because it's one of the #1 components that causes people's death from playing with it, because idiots plug it into the mains power thinking that they can do a Jacob's ladder, but they didn't go to electrical engineering course online or in university in real life, or actually watch a YouTube video, and so they die because they think that the pretty lights look attractive and they go to touch them, but then it's painful and they just stop breathing. So I'm probably not going to play with that one until I've got slightly more qualifications than watched 3 YouTube videos. We come down over here, we've got one last screw in here, and there's normally 4 inside the feet as well. Sometimes they're covered so you can't see them and you've got to peel a little sticker off. I might actually no, I'm just going to pull it out all the way. When I pull this last screw out, we're going to hear a clunk, because the microwave's big heavy silicon steel transformer is going to fall. Apparently it's not going to fall because the weight of it is pinning the screw down, so it's going to move on to the little rubber feet now. It's not always necessary to remove the little rubber feet, because sometimes they don't actually have any structural holes, but every now and then you find a microwave where the little rubber feet have a huge big screw that goes all the way up to some framework that's in the middle of the thing, and it's necessary to pull them out. So I'm just going to pull them out so I don't have to be bothered with it later in case that's the case. This should be the last screw before we can pull the top cabinet off the top. Now we get to see the juicy guts of this giant machine that's slightly bigger than normal microwaves, but not that big. Oh wait, I missed two. I always miss the side ones. Sometimes there's one on the side on each side to prevent idiots like me from taking the top. Oh no! Taking the top off and playing with little dangerous sparky bits inside. We just rotate this around. We should have one more. Screw. Nope, there's no screw. It's asymmetrical. Who designed this? I don't know. This little plate here on the top, it can make for excellent sheet steel if you want to make some makeshift armor, or you just need sheet steel for a project of pretty much any kind. It's normally insulated with a special little layer that makes you less die from microwaves. Not always though. We can go over here. As you can see, some imbecile decided it was a good idea to put a screw on the inside of the cover, which means that you can't pull the cover off without mangling and deforming the top. We can go ahead and undo that. And now we should have a piece of sheet steel, and we should have a microwave. Now I'm going to go ahead and search for the high voltage capacitor, which is going to be under here. And we're just going to run our little screwdriver across the top in case it's charged. And it doesn't look like this guy's charged, it's pretty dead. Just do that so that you don't electrocute yourself, because this capacitor does have the power to retain enough charge to stop your heart, which is not nice, and is a major inconvenience if you're not trying to speed run life to the end of its existence. I'll pull this out here. We have a big old chunky silicon steel transformer, which can be used for a variety of applications, including but not limited to EMP guns and powering high voltage things that go sparky spark. Now we can go ahead and disconnect the magnetron. If we can pull it off, there we go. Pull these off here. This guy is the magnetron core, in which you will find two ceramic disc magnets made of rare earth magnet. Sometimes they have a little sensor. They don't always have this little sensor on top. Sometimes it's just a dangerous magnetron with no sensor. And there should be two leads on the bottom of the magnetron, which power the little filament that warms up so that the electrons can jump from the little thorium core in the center out to the end like an ionic thruster in order to make microwaves inside the resonant cavity vacuum, which is just inside there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the sensor, and I'm going to go straight for the magnetron. This is a little illegal in California part of the microwave that can be modified into various different purposes, like directional radar beams that make people get warm without their consent, or directional radar beams that make Wi-Fi not work properly, or you know, whatever else you need it for. This video is for educational purposes only. I'm just doing this for tutorial on how to disassemble a microwave so that it can be safely disassembled. Whatever you do with this information beyond that is not my responsibility and is entirely on you. We pull this guy out here, and we have a nice little magnetron. As you can see, we've got our two ceramic disc magnets. We've got a little heat sink here. Inside here there should be a vacuum chamber with a thorium core, and a heating element should be inside here. And up here we've got a little dangerous guy that'll give you berylliosis if you smash it. Do not break this little white and or pink and or yellow, sometimes it's different colors, ceramic thing around here that the microwaves come out of. The microwaves actually come out radially. They do not go straight out, they come out radially. Don't break it, or inhaling the dust will give you a terminal illness of berylliosis that will wreck your lungs, and there is nothing you can do to reverse it. So far, they'll probably come out with a solution. I bet the solution in the future will probably just be a bucket of milk and some lemon juice, but we don't need to speculate on that. So now we've got a magnetron, and we should have a silicon steel transformer. I'm going to go ahead and isolate these little wires here. We don't really need to keep any of this intact, but it's nice to have the wires all up and done. We can go ahead and disconnect every little wire that is currently plugged in and disconnectable. That's going to make our job a little bit easier. Go ahead and disconnect this sensor over here, and we can go go ahead and remove the screws which keep the ground cable anchored to the frame of the microwave. And there we go. It's going to be a lot lighter now that it's got no silicon steel transformer inside it. Go ahead and pull this up here. And we can disconnect these two mains power leads. If we do get zapped by the tiny little 250 volt AC capacitor that is connected to this power board, we should still live because it doesn't have a very high capacitance, although we probably wouldn't if it was connected to mains power and we don't have a meta guy on standby. Oh dear. It would appear that whoever connected these has decided to make it difficult to remove the cables, in which case we come over to this drawer over here and we grab our little snippy snips and we just start indiscriminately severing the cords of life that once powered this microwave's existence. We go ahead and snip these here too. None of these really matter unless you super want to reuse the circuit later. Everything can just be soldered together if you absolutely must cook a hot pocket after you've decided to make the decision of disassembling the microwave. Go over here, just pull out this last cable here. This is just the control panel. This is where all the complicated logic gatey stuff happens. This is just where the power comes in. This is where the danger comes out of. This is what makes the danger the danger. And this little guy under here, which is hiding because he's a little shy today, is the high voltage capacitor. I'm just going to rip this fan out. Don't need that. As you can tell, I failed reverse engineering school. We can go down here and just unscrew this little guy. He's not always super secured in there. Sometimes he just sort of floats, but most of the time he'd be secured in here. Go ahead and pull this guy out. Oh, he's a stubborn guy. And pull this out. Here we go. And then we can pull this little guy out, and boom! We have a lethal killing machine. It's not actually that lethal, but it can be kind of scary when it's charged to 2100 volts AC and you short the terminals. It makes a pretty loud bang. And we also get a little bonus here, which is our little drainer diode, which is, actually no, this is not the drainer. This is the thing that makes the capacitor double its voltage when it goes to the transformer. There's like this weird effect where you have a diode and a capacitor and a transformer. When they love each other very much, they make a voltage spike that goes to 4000 volts. And that's pretty much all of the valuable stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and snip this transformer here. The transformer can actually be used for a lot of cool stuff. If you snip it down the middle, you can use it as an EMP revolver. But that's like a bit of a mission. And you got to get a bunch of magnets. I can't really be bothered. You also get this cool fan. Downsides of this cool fan is that it runs on like 240 volts mains power, and it's just covered with exposed wires because it's supposed to be on the inside of the microwave, so I'll probably never use it for that. But there is this nice little coil here which is similar to the ones you find in those little analog clocks that you buy from the $2 shop. And the wire is just thin enough that you could probably make it into the lines for a taser gun. Not really sure on the legality of a taser gun in my area, so I probably won't be making that one. But if you're creative enough and you have a brain, I'm sure you can figure out the applications of this fine copper spool of wire. Although you may want to unspool it from its original spool and re-spool it onto a little cone if you want it to go pew. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Definitely not to make a taser gun. I can go ahead and pull this out. Normally the little propeller slides right off. Here we go. We've got our little motor. And here's our little power circuit that takes our mains voltage and then just runs it directly into the system with no full bridge rectifier. Go ahead and pull this last screw out here. There we go. That's most of the electronics. This plastic stuff is just garbage. It can go in the bin. These kind of look cool, but there's not really much purpose for them since they can't really stand super high RPM. And we go over here. We have a few extra little wires we can take out, and there's a couple of switches. I generally don't use these switches very often. I used to collect them. Sometimes I would use them, but most of the time they're just a bit of a pain to incorporate in my builds. And I haven't made a build in so long, ever since I got disappeared to that dodgy military training school and had my memories wiped in a mental psych ward. Ignoring all of that, we can go ahead and pull this last switch out here. Oh, for legal reasons, those last two things I said were jokes. Wink, wink, wink. Alright, pull this out. Oh, pull this out too. And I pretty much never need anything that's in the digital circuitry which you use to program the microwave to run for a certain length of time. It's fairly useless to me, but I do enjoy the satisfying sensation of turning screws, which is why I'm going to remove it now. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of satisfaction going up my arms and into my little brain from turning a giant lever with a plus sign on the end of it and causing things to fall apart. Go ahead and remove this as well. I also pretty much never use these sensors. Oh no, this isn't a sensor, this is a light bulb. Look at that, it's one of those old Thomas Edison's little stolen tungsten filament bulb idea. We go in here, pull this last guy out here. There should be another switch hidden inside here. Here we go. Come on. There we go, jackpot. And if you can be bothered, I used to be bothered when I was a kid. I would depopulate this circuit board and acquire everything that was on it. But mainly I would just go for the electrolytic capacitors because they were kind of useful. I might have taken the beeper. This is one of those little piezoelectric buzzers where they put power in it. It goes meep, meep, meep. It makes that really annoying sound that tells you that your food's done. The chips I pretty much always leave on. Sometimes I take the resistors and the xenodiodes, but not normally. And as for the rest of these chips, I can't be bothered looking at what they are to figure out whether or not I can use them. But mainly I would go for the big resistors and the electrolytic capacitors. Sometimes I grab the relay. Normally the relay is like, I don't know, 24 volts, and I can't be bothered making a system that runs on that. I prefer little low voltage relays that are easy to wire up to a smoke alarm battery. But now that we're done with that, we get the very last component, which is this little switch here. Can't remember if it's normally on or normally off, but it makes a satisfying little clicky sound, and you can go, and it gives you some sort of sense of satisfaction, which is always nice. I do remember when I was about 13 in high school, I wired one of these up to an old landline phone battery, one of those landlines that's actually wireless, but it's still called a landline for some silly reason. And I wired it up to like a little beeper, and then I would pretend to say a swear word sentence, and I'd be like, son of a, and then I'd press the button, and the little battery would make the buzzer go beep, and then I would imply swear words so much. And I now realize how annoying that must have been for everyone else around me. But at the time, child me didn't notice that and just thought that it was cool. Go ahead and pull the last screw out of here. We've got everything now. The only reason I'd be turning screws at this point is to remove gross junk that is making my soon-to-be microwave-safe look ugly. Go ahead and pull this out here, pull this out. Got a bunch of screws drop down. And I think I might actually go ahead and put this guy back in. Can I put him back in? Oh no, I think I've opened Pandora's box. I can't put it back together. Put this on here. There we go. Good as new. And now you have a little safe that looks like a microwave. You just got to put the top on again if it's going to go, which it probably won't. Super glue's a wonder though. Now you can sit this around and it'll just look like a regular microwave. No one will ever check it to see if your birth certificate and your name of your firstborn child and your wallet and all your gold is in there. So yeah, thanks for watching. This has been a tutorial on how to disassemble a microwave. Not for the use, definitely not to be used as a Herf gun, that is a high energy radio frequency device, to make things stop working that you don't like working, or to, I don't know, do other shady stuff that's not shady because it's not, because I said so. Have a nice day. Peace out. Goodbye.